Hi, friends. This is Tash Cox, and you are watching Unwritten Rules of the Road. We are so privileged to get to chat with our amazing friend, Mark Paradise, with Communion After Dark. Thank you so much, Mark, for joining us today. How are you?
Good, thank you. Thank you for having me. I appreciate that. I'm happy to be here. Thank you.
Yeah, I remember when I first heard about Communion After Dark. It's been around since 2008, I believe.
Yes.
Yes. And I remember the first time I approached you, wanting to work together on a show in Tampa, and you were so gracious, so kind. I just remember my first impression. I was like, wow, what a wonderful person. And our first show, with Communion After Dark, I was just so impressed with the community around you, which is definitely a testament to you as well. So, yeah, really wonderful community there in Tampa.
Yes, yes. It's a good area for shows and for music in general. Yeah, it's been going strong for a while now. So yeah, it's a wonderful area for that. And thank you. It was wonderful having you a number of years ago, and look forward to having you again in the future.
Yeah, absolutely. I wanted to ask, have you always focused just in the Florida area, or have you done music outside of Florida?
No, I mean, I've always promoted shows where I live, which is here in Tampa. As far
Hmm.
as I mean, it depends on what you're like. Me After Dark is twofold because it's a podcast, which obviously goes outside of Florida, and we reach people all over the place. But the promotion part for the concerts, I just do here in Florida, and then that's basically what I've done. But the podcast itself, again, I mean, I guess that's a little different because we do have people who listen to us all over the world, which is pretty cool.
That is amazing. Yeah. When you first started, I guess with the music promotion aspect, did you have an idea of kind of how to go about it, like how to put shows together, or was this something that you kind of learned as you went along?
That's good question. Uh, I started promoting shows back in it was either early 2000 or maybe been like late 1990s. I don't remember exactly, but I did it for a long time. Um, and no, we really didn't have any specific. I don't think I really had any idea necessarily at that point. It was just kind of, if I remember properly, tossed into our laps. Like I had a few other people who were working with me, and at that point, and we just started doing some stuff. And there were some bands that wanted to come through, and to be honest with you, I don't remember how that all started, but and then I kind of sporadically did shows um throughout the years since then. Then maybe like 2015, I think I started doing it more heavily because I was only doing like a handful of shows each year before like 2015, 2016, and I started doing it more regularly after that.
What inspired you to want to, I guess, get more into like putting together live shows like that?
Oh, just in general. I mean, I've been doing music for a long time, so I mean, I think that was just a natural, um, you know, evolution as far as what I've been doing. I mean, I started DJing in the '90s at the Castle with Tom Gold, and then I DJed there for quite a while, and then we started the podcast in 2008. Well, still doing the Castle and DJing and promoting. It was just part of an evolution, and also I think part of it was just the love of the music, and then going to see the bands. Because we started going to Germany for festivals like in 2002, and so I think that was also a little bit of inspiration, if I remember properly. There's been a lot of sparks, but just thoughts that, hey, why not? If it's being done elsewhere, why can't we do it here? Or so that was mainly there really was no other epiphanies behind that, but it was just just an evolution of what we were doing.
I really love that because what you've created is known throughout the US, honestly. Like I've spoken to people throughout the art, the music community, and they know of Communion After Dark. They know of you. And I think that's amazing that what you've created from having gone to other places has, I think, perpetuated that inspiration in different regions as well.
Sure. No, I agree. It definitely would played a part in it for sure. All that has, DJing led to me being interested in starting the podcast because of many different reasons that at that point when we were DJing, you can only play so much music in the club, and I knew there was much more music out there that could be, showcased. So we decided to go ahead and do the podcast, and then um, as my DJing years started winding down because I had kids and other things that came up, um, I just figured, well, to stay more relevant with the music and stay up on it. I wanted to keep being a part of it, and I basically did I ramped up the promotion stuff from there, and now I do a large amount of promotions, a lot more than I did 10 years ago by far. I mean, I'm still focusing mainly on this scene that I guess, well, when I say scene, but like the dark alternative scene, I guess when I promote shows, but I do, I'm happy to promote whatever comes our way, but that's what I usually focus on.
Yeah. Would you say that the festivals that you went to, like in Germany, inspired you to eventually create your own with the Absolution Fest?
Um, yeah, Absolution Fest was created. Yeah, I mean, all this stuff is kind of just like on the whim, but Absolution Fest, I was at my previous place where I lived one night, and at that point, I think it was like when post punk was starting to really explode again, and I had a friend who was really into it, and um, she was like, talking about some of the bands. I was like, why not just start up an event here? It was really it, to be honest with you. I was like, how hard can it be? I mean, I obviously it is a challenge and it's a lot more work than I thought it was going to be when I first came up with the idea. But in the same respect, that was the only. It was just like that was a little spark, and it was like, yeah, let's do it. I mean, and then the festivals I've been to, sure. I mean, I've seen those and how they're organized and how amazing they are, and they're more extensive than what I do. I mean, by far. I mean, some of those big festivals that you go to over in Europe and stuff. But yeah, that was definitely something I was used to because I had been to those events enough that I kind of had an idea of how things should run and how they should be processed, to make it you know professional enough, anyways, for the bands.
Yeah, I'm sure. I mean, it's such a huge undertaking to organize and coordinate at that level. It's definitely a lot more than just like a single show, for sure.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Yeah, I learned that pretty quickly. Yes, it's definitely more work when you're working with 18 to 20 bands and trying to coordinate, times and other things that are involved with the event, with the owners of the venues and other people who are around this area that reach out to you and want to work with you. So yes, it's more of a ex it's definitely more extensive, yes. But the more I've done it, the easier it becomes. So the first year was just on a whim, and then we only did it for 2 days, and then gone beyond that. Now we're at 3 days, which we're not going to go, we're not going past 3 days. 3 days is enough. And Florida has its own challenges, anyways, with the weather here, especially with the time of year that I decided to do the event. So, 3 days is more than enough.
Yeah, that's huge. I mean, would you say that like what you learned the first year versus now uh well, I guess the question is like if you feel like every year it's changed and evolved or if it's just kind of found a flow after a certain point.
Yeah, it's changed a little bit, I guess, from the first year that I started doing it and the idea that I had, behind it. I mean, at that point, I was just mainly doing like I think the first year was mostly like a post-punk almost festival, but I mean, I've kind of expanded a little bit. I've added in different genres of music, more, some electronic, and then still sticking with the post-punk and the dark wave stuff, but yeah, it's expanded beyond what I originally did because now that we got 3 days, I have more of an option to make it more diverse. And our idea though behind it still has stayed the same. I mean, we try to keep it like a reasonably priced festival or event. I should say I don't want to call it festival, but an event for people to attend. And I think that's also very important because I think if people want to come here and have a good time, that it shouldn't be costing them you know too much money in order to do that. So that was another goal in mind, and we've always kind of stuck with that.
I know that's very appreciated, especially, right now where so much music is so kind of out of reach, I think, for a lot of people to be able to go. So I know it's very appreciated that people are able to afford the tickets and enjoy like such a wide variety of music.
Yeah, yeah, it's important for sure. I mean, especially we know how it is now with everything that costs so much, and so I think that the more you charge for stuff, the more difficult it becomes for people. So yes, trying to keep it reasonably priced while still being able to make a budget and cover the costs. I think we pretty much have done that, at this point.
Yeah. That's huge. That's a huge success, like in and of itself, to be able to do that for sure.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah. Um, do you have like kind of like a vision of like how you put it together each year? Like do you have an idea of like, okay, I kind of want to have these styles of bands or certain bands in particular, or is there kind of a way that you go about putting it all together?
Tash, it's I'm not really good with a large amount of like stuff where it's like extensive thinking when it comes to that. Because I mean, I know the music, so
Yeah.
maybe it's a little easier for me in that respect. And I've been because I've been doing the podcast for so long, I've had to listen to music to get more into the music. I got into the music anyways back in the early 80s and or late 80s I should say. That's why I got into industrial music. And then throughout the 90s and then the DJing, and you had to do your research on that. So I mean, I pretty much it's easy for me to know what the bands as far as the styles that has changed a little bit like I mentioned because I did I went beyond just adding post punk bands, whereas the first year the event was all like mostly post punk artists and then maybe a few dark wave artists. Um, I have extended, I've gone beyond that now with the with adding a few electronic artists and things like that. So I've kind of varied the event a little bit more, hopefully to
Mhm.
make it attractive to just not one group of people, but a large group of people.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
No, that's awesome.
yeah. But that yeah that's basically where where I'm at. But yeah, as far as like the part like figuring out who to contact or yeah, that's just something that I, I I don't know, really it's not really, I wouldn't say difficult for me necessarily, but it has become more of a challenge because nowadays I mean the when you have to band dealing with artists in general is a little different than it was maybe um 7 to 8 years ago or whatever it may be, because I mean there wasn't as many artists at that time who had agents and other things, so now there's a large amount of that involved, and so you got to deal with different group people, and yeah, it's a little more difficult to get bands, but it's still the same concept anyways.
Yeah. Well, I one thing I personally noticed about working with you is how like really, really great you are with communicating and, really timely communication. It seems like so organized. That's not always the case, and I'm sure all the artists across the board really appreciate that because that's probably something that really eliminates a lot of stress that doesn't need to be there.
Oh, well, good. I'm glad. I'm glad to hear that. I mean, I try my best. Yes, I definitely try my best. I think I maybe was a little more on top of things a few years ago before I had a couple kids, and then and then they start taking away a little bit of my focus. But I guess that's normal. But I mean, in the same respect, no, I definitely do always try to take into consideration other people's feelings and how it comes across. If I don't respond or if it takes too long to respond, because I don't really like when people do that to me either. So I try and be as quick as I can with responses and keeping in touch with people about what's going on.
Yeah. How do you discover new music? Is it just something that naturally comes your way, or are there particular like platforms that you like to um, listen to
I
new music?
I don't, that's hard to say. I don't use
Yeah,
Spotify, believe it or not. And I know it sounds bad because I should be scolded probably nowadays. Everybody uses Spotify, but I don't really use Spotify. We are on Spotify, but I don't really use it. And no, I don't know how to. It's just the amount of years that I've been listening to industrial, goth, synth pop, whatever you want to call it, music. Um, I started off listening to new wave music like in the early 80s. Just the evolution of all of that and um, just going through to I mean, I do use Bandcamp a lot. I keep up on
hmm
that and I get those emails and stuff when artists are releasing new stuff. So, I mean, I do that and then I still I just like know like I know what labels to check out and see what new releases might be on that label. So I'll go to Bandcamp and put in like maybe a label or something, and it'll show me what they have coming out on that label.
yeah,
Um, I know, I mean, it's just that stuff, or I keep up on social media and I'll get like little blurbs I see on the internet, where I see what they're telling me. So I mean,
hmm
that's basically it. I mean, but keeping up on new music. Yeah, and now it's more of a I know a large amount of people who seem to always reach out, which is nice now because that also makes it a little easier. So I will get emails a large amount of times like my new music's coming out or this is coming out or somebody will tell me, "Hey, have you checked out this artist?" And I mean, so that all helps obviously because I don't have time to follow everything. So I mean, it definitely makes a difference when people are helping me as well.
yeah, absolutely. For people that aren't as familiar with our community and our scene, like what would be some labels to check out that you like to follow for the different artists?
Well, it depends on what like genre you're looking for. I mean, I grew up listening to a large amount of electronic, like industrial EBM music, but now, I mean, I think the good labels like there's Artifact Records, of course, which is in based out of Canada. There's a large amount of good post-punk artists on there, plus artists, some of the older artists like Frontline Assembly are on their label. Some other artists that are slipping my mind right now. But then Germany's got Infactor Recordings, which is a great label for synth pop. Then there's Scanner, which is a good label for like more like dark electro. There's also Alpha Matrix, which is a Belgian label that's I guess like it's got some old school electronic bands on it and some new bands. There's Out of Line Music, which has expanded beyond just this theme. They have a large amount of metal artists on their label as well. But bands like Blutingle, who some people might know and stuff like that, they're on that label still. And there's other artists on that label. Um, and then there's smaller labels too. I mean, there's also obviously Metropolis still in the U.S. that puts out releases. So I mean, those are good ones. Cop Internationals, and I know out of California, and they still put out releases. So there's a bunch of those are some of the ones I guess that stand out more so. But there's plenty of other ones out there. But I mean, though, those are the ones that are like I guess more prominent that come to
Yeah.
mind right now.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. I think that's something that's helpful, like, because I think, when people ask me like, oh, how can I find like more music that's
Hmm.
like, in these particular genres, it's so helpful to be able to be like, okay, here's some labels, because
Yes.
if they're known for putting out really great artists, that's really helpful to know.
Sure. I mean, I know not
Yeah.
all artists are on labels, so obviously you have to. I mean, I guess that's why if you're on Bandcamp and you click the follow thing and the button, and then you follow the artist, if you find artists you like, then that helps too because at least then you're getting the emails and it'll tell you when the artist releases something new. Because obviously there are plenty of artists out there who are independent, and I mean, that's great. I mean, not everybody needs to be on a label. So and I think more so even like here in the US, you see more independent artists than maybe in Europe. And I don't know the exact reasoning behind that. I think some of that reasoning is based on they have all those big festivals over there, and I know that I've talked to other artists who are based in Europe, and they seem to feel like being on a label helps them a little bit more with getting on some of those events. But there's also other great labels out there like Cold Transmission Music, which does fantastic with post-punk music and darkwave, and so there's a large amount of really good labels, but there's the like I said, it's important to follow the independent people who don't have labels because there's so much great music that comes out where people are just doing it themselves, and hey, congratulations to everybody who can do that. In my opinion, I think it's great.
It's appreciated. We are said indie artists ourselves, so
Yeah, so
Alice is, so
there you
yeah.
go. Yes,
Yes.
exactly.
Yeah. Not that we're anti-label. I really, really respect so much of what the labels can do for artists. And we have friends that are on some really great labels. Just like, how you've talked about how I think things have naturally progressed for Communion
Hmm.
After Dark and in your own career. I think it's kind of the similar with us. That's just been kind of our natural progression is that we've always just been indie. So
Oh, that's good.
yeah.
I like
Yeah.
that. I mean, I think that's a good thing. I mean, so, but again, like you said, whatever works for the specific person and the specific artist, then I guess that, it's all good either way.
Yeah. So I wanted to take a moment and say hello to our wonderful audience for joining us. Thank you all so much for taking the time to join in. We have this really lovely question from Parish Knight, who is asking, do you ever find it hard to practice your art? I sometimes find life too dark to listen to dark music, and I wonder whether the pros ever feel the
Hmm.
same.
Good question. I do have moments where yes, because I go through a large amount of emotions each day, but sure, there's plenty of times where I don't feel up to it. However, that's why I listen to a large range of music. So if I mean, some days I don't want to listen to music, but if if I am listening to music that specific day, and maybe I'm in a certain, it depends on my mood. Um, I love synth pop music because a large amount of times that brings me some happiness and it brings me a little levity where I'm like now like stressed out. But and I also will go back to if I'm really in a rut, I go back to my artists that I grew up listening to, like New Order and stuff like that, because that always makes me happy listening to bands that I grew up with. So that's how I do it. I mean, I know it's different for everybody, but yes, there's plenty of moments where I'm like, I don't really want to listen to any music right now.
Yeah, definitely. It definitely helps, I think, to go to your roots
Hmm.
and to know those happy places for sure.
Yes.
Yeah. Um, like when you first started DJing, I'm sure that that's probably like a big part of how you highlight music that you really love, and it's your way of sharing it with other people. Um, putting together those playlists, I imagine, like things that you genuinely like really love. So,
Yes. That's the only reason I've ever done any of this is because of the my love for music. It's not like something that I would say is going to get you like extremely rich. So that's not a reason to ever that I've ever done it for money or anything like that. I just did it because yeah, I love it and it makes me happy. Music's one of those few things that I can go to when I'm depressed or when I'm sad, and it usually will make me feel a little bit different. Um, you know, I've always done it for the love of the music and for getting, and it was always fun as a DJ to see people enjoying that music and then dancing to it. That was like a high that I would get off of DJing. That's always one. I don't know about all DJs, but for myself, that was something I really enjoyed. Um, More so than just standing there playing music for people, but I enjoyed seeing people being happy and having a good time. And that was kind of the same thing with the podcast, like the comments, like when we get comments, and people give us feedback. That is one of the reasons we keep doing it. I don't if we didn't receive any feedback or any positive vibes from people, and they all nobody talked to us or they hated us, we would probably have stopped a while back. But yeah, that all makes me feel good, and I that's one of the reasons I keep doing it.
I think that's like awesome. I feel like, you really do have to have a love for music. I mean, there's a very small percentage of people in the music community that have managed to make a great deal of money, but
Sure.
for most of us mortals, I
Yeah.
feel like it comes from a real place of love for sure.
Yes. Yes, for sure. 100%. Yes,
Yeah.
definitely.
I wanted to ask, so like, in like your experience, I mean, I'm sure you've seen some truly incredible live shows. Are there any that stick out to you in particular? And if so, as well, like what makes a live show like really amazing or memorable?
Oh wow, that's a good question. Um, Shows that I've seen so many live shows. Um, Ones that have stuck out. It's hard. That's a hard question. I don't. The ones that stick out to me are the bands that I truly love, I guess maybe, and that I grew up with, like seeing like Oingo Boingo back in the '80s, seeing
Oh, wow.
New
Yeah.
Order multiple times over the years because I absolutely love that band, and um seeing like bands like Front 242 for the first time back in Skinny Puppy back in the early '90s and like late '80s. um you know Frontline Assembly when there was just the two of them, and they were banging on pipes and barrels and stuff instead of all the stuff that's going on now. So with them, I mean, it's a little different, obviously. But yeah, those shows stick out. I mean, and then some of the newer shows. I mean, seeing some of the new bands. There's been some really amazing bands I've gotten to experience. Your band in particular, many
Yeah.
people who saw you just like love your stage show and love how interactive it is and how many musicians you have. And yeah, it's very cool. I mean, seeing some of the new artists, and then yeah, I've seen many very cool shows over in Europe as well. So countless shows, but they're all amazing. And then but I grew like so I always go back to some of the original artists I grew up with, and recent ones. Like I saw Tears for Fears a couple of years ago. I thought that was amazing. That was the first time I ever got to see them, which I thought they were absolutely amazing live. And I got to see Stevie Nicks for the first time, and I thought Stevie Nicks was amazing. That was one of my favorite shows I've seen in the last many years. But Yeah, I mean, so it just varies, I guess, and depends on when. But yeah, I've seen a large amount of fun shows over the years.
So I've never been able to see any shows in Europe. I was just wondering, is like what the difference is between like live music community in Europe versus here, if
Well,
you've noticed any differences.
huh, that's good. Yeah, well, I mean, well, obviously with the US, everything's so spread out. And then when you just go to an event over there, like a festival, that's concentrated on the one area, people travel from, all over because it's a little, obviously it's easier to get to that point. And yeah, it's hard to say because I'm not there when they're just having regular shows because I've heard from friends that are like, oh yeah, it's the same in Germany. You go to a regular, go to a show. There's not that many people, maybe, but um, those events like that, they really energize you because you're like, you see thousands of people and they're all really into the music and they're there for the one purpose of that scene and that that music, and just to be there to love it and to be immersed in the whole atmosphere that's surrounding it. Yeah, it's really cool. It's not something you get to experience maybe as much over here, because like over here you have like the separate concerts, which are wonderful, but you don't have um, you know, thousands of people usually for those artists over here. I mean, like I've seen VNV Nation over in here many times. I promoted them a number of times, and I've seen them over here a number of times. And then you see them, like I saw them in Europe in front of like 10,000 people, and that's a completely the amount of energy you get off of that, like that many people being in a place, seeing a band is just absolutely crazy. Yeah,
Wow, I
compared.
can only imagine.
Yeah.
That's incredible. Yeah. I've seen VNV Nation as well, over here though, so I have yet to experience them in Europe, but I imagine that's amazing.
Yeah, it's a little different. Definitely the energy, like I said, that you receive off of that many people, and that it just makes you, it energizes you to want to do more, and so yeah, I'm sure like you had asked me previously, yeah, I'm sure those events going over there when I was younger, those events definitely energized me even more than to do things and to get more inspired, because when I would come back and I would DJ, it was like that much more of a uh, I was like that much more pumped up to DJ and the new music that I heard or whatever it may be when I came back. So it definitely, yeah, the more people, the better. I mean, because it you feed off of that energy.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, as somebody that has been really tapped into the dark music scene, I was just wondering because you mentioned earlier about watching the evolution of how
Mhm.
music has progressed, and I was just curious, like, if you have any thoughts in terms of like where we're at. Do you see us like coming back to like I guess um, coming back to the roots, so to speak, and having more retro music? Or do you see kind of like a forward progression and evolution that's happening in the dark music scene?
I don't, yeah, that's a good question. I mean, I would say, well, I mean, there was definitely a reversion back to the retro style music with the post-punk blow up a number of years ago, because I mean, then you're going back to bands like Joy Division and artists like that were around many years ago. But now, I mean, it seems like, yeah, I don't know. Now you're seeing like some more advancement as far as like the way artists are making music in the scene. You have more like so much stuff with the AI and all the other things that people are using. I mean, you definitely seen that more so. But I always think it like goes in cycles. So I think the retro part will never go away. I think that becomes a thing again every so many years, and then it changes. But it's just you see that, I guess, as time keeps going. And I guess like in this scene, you had like a blow up of like future pop type music at one point back in the early like 2005 to 2012, somewhere in the area, 2010, where they were like VNV Nation, those type of artists of Pop Tigma Berserk. But then it changes as time goes on. They fade away, and then some of them last, but some of them don't. So but yeah, I and like the goth, you see like some of the goth rock coming back more so than it was at one point. But yeah, the retro part's always there, I think. But I do think with all the advancements now, with everything that's going on, I mean, with the amount of stuff that pops up every day, it seems like um there you have, I think a good blend is like when you can blend in like both the old and the new somehow. I mean, I know it's not probably easy, but and I'm
Yeah.
not a musician, so I don't. I'm I'm not really good with that, but that would be my thought. I mean, maybe that's the best um, world if you have
Yeah.
one.
Absolutely. Yeah, I was curious about that just because like like you have such a deep knowledge of the different eras that have been happening in electronic music and the dark music scene in general. So yeah, I imagine too for listeners that listen to your podcast, I'm sure going back into the archives also can give them kind of an example of like, different eras of music and stuff when, going through that.
Sure. I mean, we've definitely changed up over the years, I think. I think. I
Yeah.
mean, I mean, and we've always tried to play what was new. That was one of the things I've always wanted to do, more so. And as I already mentioned to you, I love many artists that have been around for many years. But as for the, if you're just like referring to the podcast, that was always one of our rules was we were just going to play stuff that was new. We don't
Mm.
play we just don't do that. I mean, it's just not really our thing. I there's plenty of I'm sure there's plenty of mixes out there and plenty of shows that do the old school stuff and that's fantastic. I have like I said I have more respect for those artists probably more than anything, but that's just not our thing. I just always wanted to showcase like what was new, and what is new, and I still try and do that to this day. I have never changed that. I did that when I DJ too. I just felt that was the way to DJ. I mean, you have to always, as a DJ, you have to always throw in some older music because you want to keep the crowd happy. But if you have a perfect blend as a DJ, you're throwing in new music, you're throwing in some classics, you're mixing them well together, and people keep dancing and they don't complain about it and they're happy. So I mean that's the best route to go with in my opinion as a DJ.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's awesome. Speaking on the artist side, like I know that we always really appreciate like when people are willing to take a chance on us, and willing to take a chance on a new song when you're like, here is my new offering into the world. And there are people like yourself that's like, hey, we wanna showcase that. So
Yeah.
yeah.
No, yeah, for sure. I mean, you don't want to. I mean, it'd be a shame if all that people ever heard was. I mean, the classics are great, but you want to expand beyond that. I mean, and definitely, I think as somebody who's like doing music, that's part of your responsibility to somehow figure out a way to do that, whatever that way may be. But for me, like I said, that's just always something I've wanted to do. I always listen to new music. Sometimes maybe to the extent that I'm not listening to as much of the older stuff that I want to, because I'll think about it and I'll like, oh, I miss listening to this, but there's so much new stuff that comes out, um, you know, and then every once in a while I'll go back and listen to the older stuff and I'm like, oh man, I forgot how amazing this song was. And it's a good way to handle things, I guess. But I love, you know, finding new music. I think that's always been a passion of mine, anyways.
So if I were to ask like right now, if there's and it's putting you on the spot, but is there any like new music or new artists that you can think of off the top of your head that you've been listening to currently?
Wow, that's tough. I listen to so much stuff that I don't, and here's the whole thing. I'll be honest with you. I said this to somebody else. Like now, the music industry has changed a large amount because many things that come out now are singles. There's no more where you wait around for albums to show up. And I mean, no, not that artists don't release albums because there are artists out there who release albums, but I sometimes have a hard time with like remembering what I'm listening to because there's so many singles
Yeah.
that show up. Um, and it depends on the genre. Like I really like for the dark electro, there's some good stuff that's come out. I like some US artists like Frontal Boundary and who's I think out of Arizona or it might be California, I'm not even sure. And then Protocol 19, which is a local Tampa band. They've really started to get a following. Um, and then there are many other like artists that have just like Bioflesh was an artist I recently discovered maybe a year ago or something. They're a darkwave artist out of Chile, who I really enjoy a large amount. Um, there's so many other ones though besides that, and I know I can't. I mean, they keep popping up every so often. I found a synth pop artist out of Germany recently called, I don't know how you pronounce the name, but Cires, and that's how the name is spelled. And it's like a synth pop artist um, who I hadn't heard until recently. And I really like their music. Um, but yeah, there's if I really just like Black Book is another great band I enjoy, which is a synth pop artist I found maybe 2 years ago out of Switzerland. But there's so many of them out there that it's hard because even recently for me, like, like the Ministry album that just came out with where they redid all their old stuff, and I absolutely love that. I was like, okay, this is great. And that's one of the things I've been listening to a lot lately, believe it or not, because I was a huge Ministry fan back in the 80s, late 80s and stuff. I was just gigantic Mystery fan. So now that they've redone some of their old stuff, I've been listening to that a large amount. But yeah, but there's just so many great artists that just keep popping up, and I just saw Buzz Call the other day when they opened for Cold Cave, who I love Cold Cave. They're one of my favorites in this in the post punk synth pop dark wave, whatever you want to call it. Dark. I like the term dark alternative. I'm not really crazy about all the other. I just kind of like I like lumping stuff under that name, but yeah, Buzzcall is great because they're like an EBM electronic artist out of Australia who popped up a number of years ago, and he was fantastic live. So there's just so many that come up. And I really want to give a shout out to like Dead Cool, who's another band I absolutely have grown to love out of North Carolina. Um, they're amazing dark wave, synth pop, whatever you want to say, artists as well. So there's plenty of them out there. There, you just got to keep searching, and I'm sure you'll find them. But yeah, there's so many.
Oh, I love that. You're such an inspiration, Mark. The fact that you really are a wealth, like a treasure trove of musical information like that. I'm gonna have to go back and make a list just from the ones that you listed because I'm like, I want to follow all this. Um, and I've heard of Dead Cool. I think we were actually trying to play with them when we played in North Carolina ourselves. So,
Oh, okay. All right,
yeah,
cool.
yeah, yeah, they're great. Yeah.
Yeah, very
And
nice people. Yes.
yeah. The best way to listen to your podcast would be well, you mentioned multiple channels, so you have it on Spotify,
Yeah,
Apple Music as well.
we do. Yes, and our most popular platform, I guess, still to this day is YouTube, only because YouTube we've incorporated our we do unlike many, which I think maybe makes us stand out a tiny bit more than other artists. I mean, podcasts is that we talk a little bit. Some people probably hate our talk. They're probably like, shut up. But we talk during the after we do our music. We'll talk about what we played. We like with our podcast, which I think still to this day we're the most extensive playlists out there. We put everything on our playlist. We put where the artist is from. We put the link to where you can buy the artist's music. We put the name of the release. If it's a digital single, we just put down it's a digital single. We put down the Bandcamp links, whatever it may be. But yeah, I don't even remember what I was. I'm off on a rant now. But you confused. I'm confused now. What was your question again? I go off on a
How
rant and I lost
I
my.
love it. I love it. Tangents are always welcome. I was asking about where we can find your podcast.
Oh yeah,
And
YouTube's the best
yeah,
one. Yeah, I'm sorry.
got
YouTube's the
it.
best.
Yeah.
That's my favorite one. But if you prefer like Spotify, that's great. We're on Spotify. Like you said, we're on Apple, iTunes, or podcast or whatever they call it now. I don't. I apologize. I'm sure I don't remember the exact name. I think it's Apple Podcast. Um, we're also still on Mixcloud. I know not a lot of people use Mixcloud anymore, but we're still on Mixcloud. Um, and then we have a website, communityafterdark.com, which you can go to as well. So we're on all those different platforms, and we're on other ones too, which honestly I don't know what they are because I really haven't kept up on that recently, but we've those are the main ones. Though, anyways, the ones I list are the main ones. I think YouTube's great because again, we you can see us. If you care to see us, if you don't, hey, don't watch YouTube. But if you want to like enjoy, like join in with us, which we try to make it more interactive for the people who are listening, um, then yeah, we incorporate our actual talking video in the YouTube video, so you can actually see us and laugh at us or whatever you want to do.
That's awesome. I personally like love like the fact that you do like talk about the artist and um you know also share like all the information that you do about it. I think that's actually really really cool. And very supportive of the artist. That's really awesome.
Yeah, well, and that's the whole point behind the show, anyways. I mean, that's the whole point behind what I do in general. Is because I'm not really doing it for myself. I'm doing it for the to get the music out there and for people who make the music and to basically showcase that to the people who maybe don't know certain artists or they find things through our show. That's always those are some of the best comments that we receive when people will tell us, "Hey, I learned about this artist by listening to your show," and that's great. I mean, that's what we want to do. That's the whole point behind the show. It's not for I wouldn't say it's really for us anymore. I mean, maybe when we first started maybe it was just like, hey, let's do this for fun, but now it's more like, hey, we get to get the music out there. We help the bands and as much as we can. I mean, whether it's a little bit or more, depending on who that may be. But yeah, I mean, that's just the reason we do it. I mean, I wouldn't do it for any other reason anymore, to be honest with you. If it was just about me, I would probably have stopped because it is, all the stuff obviously takes up time and it's a lot of work. And as everybody knows, there's only so much time in a day now, and it seems like time is less than it once was. I don't know if that's true or not, but that's the way it seems, anyways.
Oh yeah, time is absolutely fluid. It really, really is. So, yeah. But it's truly an inspiration, Mark, because like we need more people like you. Because when you were talking about I love that your description of the dark alternative music.
Yeah.
There aren't a lot of outlets, at least on mainstream media, for dark alternative. A lot of underground bands. So it is one of those things that it's so appreciated to have like ways that people can find the music, and that really does help amplify it.
Oh, good. I appreciate. And that means a lot. Thank you. I mean, I appreciate that. Yeah. Like I said, that's what we try and do. Because I remember like when I was a kid and I found that I had a friend and my whole life has been like a bunch of different random experiences, but I had a friend who like came from Houston. I want to say it was Houston, and he had a mixtape um and we had tapes back then because I'm an old person, but he he had a mixtape and he had recorded it off of a radio station in Houston. And he's like, "Hey, if you like new wave music or you like this style of music, here you're gonna love this." And so then he plays me his mixtape, and it's got bands like Nitzareb on it and Dead or Alive and Concan and this stuff. And I'm like, hey, this is fantastic in ministry and stuff along those lines. And yeah, then we went to a record store and started buying that music. So that's how we kind of came across it. But it was just a random experience because I had just met this person. He moved from Houston to well, at that time I lived in a different city in Florida, but that's not very important. But yeah, but that's how I met the person, anyways, and that's how I kind of really got into more of the industrial sound or bands like Sisters of Mercy and those type of things. So
Um, Getting some love in the chat. Clint Carney says, "We appreciate everything you do, Mark."
oh well, thank you, Clint. I appreciate that. That's very
Yeah.
kind.
Yeah. No, it's inspiring to meet people that really truly do it out of love. Because I do think that there are sometimes I think when you get started out, you're like, oh, like, people might have like different ideas of what it can lead to. But I think in essence, what keeps you in music is it really does come down to the love of it.
Yes, yes, I agree. I mean, if you don't love it, I think it would be, I'm sure there's people who just do it for other reasons, but I mean, that's not really my experience, so I can't really
Yeah.
speak on that. But I mean, for me, it's just the love of music, and it's something that keeps me going. I mean, you always have to find something um in your day-to-day experiences that you really enjoy doing, and that's one of the things I've always enjoyed doing. So
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I feel like it's kind of a natural progression that when you do something out of the love of it, just it's amazing how you find kindred spirits and other people that are like, yeah, I love that too. And that's how you kind of build communities. It's like you find people that are like, oh, I too love this
yes,
music, you know?
yes, I've noticed that over here, the more we do things like with concerts and promote, I mean, it you building more and more of a community, and it's pretty cool. I mean, it's definitely something that's fun, and it makes me happy to see that people are getting into the music, or that there's more and more people that I meet that are really into listening to artists that and that I love, and that I'd never met these people before. So it's actually really a fulfilling experience for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, with everything that's happening in Communion After Dark, what can we expect this year? What is in the horizon for Communion After Dark?
Well, I mean, for me, and for Community After Dark in general, because I mean, Community After Dark. So it's like twofold. Community After Dark again is myself. And I'd be remiss to not mention that we have DJ Winters, who is a huge part of Community After Dark, and DJ Gold, who's the DJ at the Castle now. Because I don't DJ there with him anymore. I used to for many years, but like I said, that's something I stopped. But he is amazing, and she's amazing, and they're a huge part of the podcast, and a huge part of like sharing the music. So for us, it's just continuing on with the podcast for us three, and we'll see where it goes. I don't know how many more years we're going to do it, but for now, we're still doing it. So as long as people are listening and commenting and saying, "Hey, this actually means something," then we'll probably continue doing it, at least for now. As far as the other side, which is, I guess, the side I built up with the promotion, um, I'm at this point, I'm still going forward with that, and I take it year by year. I have Absolution Fest coming up again this year, even though last year was was not the best, because last year got canceled due to unforeseen circumstances, which are hurricanes, and
Yeah.
unfortunately, there's nothing I can do about that. I have no control over hurricanes. But yeah, so I mean, I'm gonna do it again this year. I love Absolution. I hope that people will come. That announcement's coming up very, very, very soon. Actually, couple days now they'll be coming up. So I hope people respond well to it. And then yeah, we have some other great shows coming up this year as far as concerts locally. Um, and then we'll keep doing the podcast and sharing the music. But that's basically what we have going right now.
It's a lot. It's a lot that you do, like on so many fronts. So, that's amazing. It's like I love that you're doing the podcast and you have shows and you're putting together a festival. That's pretty incredible. So,
Oh, thank you.
many, yeah. Oh, we're getting a question from Parish Knight again. Thank you for your question. Was asking if you have ever worked with Mazzy Star.
I have not. No, that would be really cool. But no, I've never gotten a chance. I've worked with some really cool artists that I love, but Mazzy Star has never been one of them. And that would be really cool. I love Mazzy Star, but this year, like last year, I got to work again with Front 242, and this year I'm getting to work with XTC, which was a band from the '80s, but now their original singer is no longer in the band. I work with Gene Loves Jezebel and Anything Box, and so many amazing artists that I never would have thought in a million years I could have ever worked with. But IMX is another artist I get to work with this year again, which I think is fantastic. I love him. But no, yeah, no, unfortunately, no Mazzy Star. That would be really cool though. Have Mazzy Star contact me. I would love to do
Yes.
that.
We'll put that in the bucket list. Yes. But that's really cool of like all the artists that you listed out. That's really amazing that you're getting to work with those artists and put those shows on.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
It's been a lot of fun artists, but
Yeah. I'm sure that's part of like the really gratifying part is actually like also getting to see those artists live yourself.
oh, for sure. For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely. And get to meet some of your, you know, growing up, like I would go to all these concerts and and I would get to it's a different experience, obviously, but I would like really just be like, oh, it'd be so cool to meet this person or meet that person. And then you get a chance to work with them. Yeah, it's definitely a very gratifying experience for sure.
So, for an artist first starting out, I guess this is a new artist question. Would you have any like advice in terms of like how an artist can go about getting themselves out there and I guess um, having their first show? Like, are there particular things that as a promoter that you look for when you're booking an artist?
I mean, oh wow, that's I mean, for the artist, I would say keep, you want to keep pushing, beyond just your local scene, I guess. I mean, because I've seen many artists who get stuck. Like, it depends on what you want to do as an artist again. If you want to get out there to more people, I think you have to push yourself beyond just your local area that you may live in, where you can play shows with your local promoter or local club or whoever it may be. You have to really go out there and I guess and tour and actually go out to other areas and get your music out there. I know it's a lot because for some people that's probably too much, but that's what I would suggest. I mean, I've seen a few artists in this area who I've worked with. Like a Starry Night is a good example. They're amazing people, and um, they started off locally, and I used to book them quite often for local shows. And then, I used to say to them, even myself, I would be like, hey, you should really be trying to get beyond just playing shows in Tampa and Miami and stuff. Go play other places, because you're never gonna, that's the only way you're really gonna grow your name. But yeah, so I mean, I would say it's just perseverance and keep going, and putting your music out, being consistent. If you're not consistent, like that's one thing with our podcast, I would say, I guess, is that we are consistent. If you want to say anything about us, that's one thing you can never say is we're not consistent. We've missed in 17 years, we missed two shows, which is we do it weekly. So we've missed 2 weeks in 17 years, and that was for major reasons.
Yeah.
There is not, if you're consistent with what you're doing and you're trying to, and you really care about what you're doing and you have a passion behind it, I think you'll get out there. I mean, I believe that, um, it's just a matter of pushing through some of those boundaries that come up in front of you. Um, because I know bands will ask me all the time, like, how do I reach an agent or how do I do this? And it's like, I would just say, hey, you know what? Take your chances. Email agents if you want to be on an agency, if that's what you want to do, or if you want to be on a label, just try. I mean, that's all you can do, and you never know what's going to happen. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. It's true. You mentioned a Starry Night. They're actually going to be playing here in LA in a couple days.
Yes.
Yeah, so I was like, that's so cool. I've seen their name around. I'm gonna try to actually catch the show. So, um, yeah,
Yeah.
I
Well,
think that's awesome.
that'd be cool. Yeah, if you go there, tell them I said hi. But yeah, no,
I
they
will.
were one of those bands that that I used to work with, like I said, and then I kind of just said that, and I don't know if I had anything to do with any of their success. Michael might tell you that when we're there. He's a singer, but yeah, and then I did that recently with another band, like I told you earlier, that band Protocol 19, who's from Tampa. I was able to introduce him luckily to Bruno Kram, who is the man behind Das Ich, who's been around for many, many years in Germany. And, he signed them to his label. So, I mean, those are the type of things I think that you just have to keep trying. I mean, and you never know who you're going to meet, and you can't give up on your dreams. I mean, there's a lot of obstacles that pop up, but just keep pushing through them.
Yeah, that's really beautiful, solid, inspiring advice. 100% just to keep on putting yourself out there. I think, yeah, having that courage to do that.
Yes, yes, I agree,
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. I do feel like, as artists, sometimes, like for instance, when you're releasing new music, you never know how it's going to be received. But, I feel like, I remember reading this Andy Warhol quote that was like, just keep making art. Like while other people are talking about it, just keep making art. So you make your art and
Yes,
then you make it again and
there you
again.
go. Yes,
Yep.
yes,
Yep.
that's a great quote. I love that quote.
Yeah. Yeah. I try to live by that. So yeah. Um, yeah. I think it's one of those things too. It's like I feel like also like putting yourself out there in the live music arena is also something that's really been helpful for us. Because I feel like we've also been able to kind of see for ourselves like how people engage with our music in the
Hmm.
live realm. You know,
Yeah,
you
well,
were talking. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
no, go ahead. No, go ahead. No, go ahead. Finish that what you're saying. I apologize.
Oh, no, no, not at all. Well, you were mentioning as a DJ, like how gratifying it is to see people dancing. And I definitely feel that way about watching people when we're playing live. Like you really get that live feedback where you're like, oh, this really gets people moving. And it's so inspiring to see that. And you're like, okay, I see. Sometimes we like to actually try out new music before we even record it, you know? So,
Yeah. Well, no, and that's great. And when I'm not just saying this, but when I've worked with many different artists, and you were one that makes an impression. You made an impression for sure. I remember meeting you for the first time at I think you did two shows with me. You did the one I unfortunately I couldn't be there for your second show. I don't remember why. But the first one when I did get to meet you for at Hooch and Hive, you definitely made a big impression on me. And there's many people in this area who to this day I think you made an impression on that had not seen you before and didn't know your music. And you're amazing live. I mean, and your music on just in general is fantastic. So I just think it's great that you're able to keep doing that. And and I'm not just saying that because I've met many other artists who I'm like, I mean, they're wonderful people, or maybe not. I don't know, but they didn't make as much of an impression on me as you did, and maybe a few other people I've met along the way. So yeah,
we do not take that lightly. We really, really appreciate that. Very much so. I feel like it's a forever work in progress, and when you get positive feedback like that, it helps a lot. You're like, okay, you know, on the right track.
well, good. That's great. That's good
Yes.
to hear. That's good to hear.
Yeah. Yeah. I think like yourself, we put a lot of love into it. So yeah, it's a labor of love, absolutely.
That's great. That's yeah,
Yeah.
that's amazing. That
Yeah.
that's what's I think most important. That you love what you're doing.
Yeah, absolutely. And I personally have always had a love for live music in general. Like I feel like there's just nothing like it. To have that experience of just getting to have that face-to-face interaction, with people. That's
Hmm.
why we started Unwritten Rules of the Road, is just the true love of live music. So yeah,
Oh, very cool. Yeah, no, I
yeah.
thank you so much for having me on the show again. It's very nice. Appreciate it.
Yeah, yeah. Um, Calvin Weaver says, positive vibes equals positive lives, always through the power of Alice music. Oh, thank you so much, Calvin. That means a lot.
That's awesome.
Um, yeah, that is awesome. Well, Mark, thank you so much for your time and your inspiration and your perspective. I just feel so grateful for you and everything that you've done for the music community as a whole. Like we're all so grateful for you.
Oh, well, thank you. I mean, I appreciate that. It means a lot to hear that. So thank you very much. And thank you again for having me on the show.
Yes, thank you. And thank you all so much for taking the time to chat with us and for your live questions. We dropped some links in the chat of how you can follow Communion After Dark and the wonderful music that Mark continues to share out to the world. So thank you all so much. Sending much love to y'all and have hope you have a wonderful rest of your week.
Bye. Thank you.